Hi, I'm Dr. Allen from Jones Animal Hospital. Thanks for joining us today on Vet Visits. Today I'm going to talk about something that, believe it or not, comes up many times when it snows, but also comes up other times of the year. And that's lower urinary tract infections in dogs. And why does it come up when it snows? Well, it comes up when it snows because the people can see the urine on the snow and can see there's blood in it. Very often you don't ever notice it otherwise. Lower urinary tract infections, though, are fairly common problems in dogs. We see them some in cats, but more in dogs. It can happen in males and females, much more commonly in females. And there's a variety of potential causes. By far the most common is just a plain old urinary tract infection. They get a bacterial infection in the urine that causes them to have to be irritated. They urinate frequently, small amounts. They're sometimes having accidents in the house. Sometimes you'll notice blood in the urine, sometimes not. Just a simple bacterial infection is very easy to treat. Often we can just do a urinalysis, see what's going on, get them on some antibiotics, sometimes some pain medicine or antispasmodics, and they'll do better, and that's all there is to it. And usually if they come in just the first time, that's all we have to do. It's just that kind of a deal. Other things, though, can be a source of urinary tract infections. We see bladder stones, and bladder stones are fairly common in males and females both. And bladder stones can be just in the bladder. They occasionally will be in the kidneys. Sometimes they'll lodge in the urethra. The urethra is the tube that goes from the bladder to the outside of the body. Now that's more of a problem in males than females because the urethra in male dogs actually goes through a bone where it has a fairly narrow opening, and that's where the stones will lodge. And then those guys cannot urinate. They'll sit and strain and strain and strain. They get a drop or two out, often a little bit bloody, and that becomes an emergency because they can't urinate, so urine backs up. The toxins that are normally exited the body through the urine back up in their system. Those guys get pretty sick pretty fast. Dogs that just have stones in the bladder, sometimes those stones will sit there for months or years and not cause much trouble. Sometimes they'll multiply and then you have a bladder filled with stones, and those dogs are urinating small amounts frequently because now there's not any space in the bladder to hold urine. It's all full of stones. Those usually are diagnosed either with an x-ray or an ultrasound. Sometimes you can dissolve the stones with special diets and antibiotics to control infection. Other times the stones have to be removed surgically through a fairly straightforward procedure called a cystotomy, where you go in through the bladder wall in the abdomen, make an incision and just remove the stones. Most people know somebody who's had dogs that had bladder stones removed because we send them home with them and they go, look here, we have bladder stones. Stones in the urethra where they've blocked the urethra and they can't urinate often require surgery into the urethra, which is quite a much bigger deal than just a simple cystotomy. And there's a bit of more of a recovery from that, but that's a doable thing too, and that's a life-threatening thing. If we don't do surgery, if we don't get the stones out of that urethra, those pets are going to die. So infections, just plain infections, are the most common. Bladder stones are the second most common. Third, occasionally we'll see bladder tumors. Usually those are in older female dogs. They'll have a type of tumor called a transitional cell carcinoma. Those often respond quite well to chemotherapy and will shrink down and do pretty well, sometimes for several years. So bladder cancer can often be treated and can often be treated very successfully. Occasionally they'll have some other kind of bladder cancer than a transitional cell carcinoma, and those can be much more serious and carry a worse prognosis. In rare cases, we'll see dogs that have kidney stones or kidney infections, and that can cause lower urinary tract signs also. But by far the most common thing is something as simple as stones or a bladder infection. So, if your dog is urinating small amounts frequently, having accidents in the house, maybe having some blood in the urine, a lower urinary tract infection is certainly a possibility. Have them checked by your veterinarian. It would be very helpful before you go to the vet if you would prevent the animal from urinating for several hours before you go in. That way the bladder can have some urine in it so we can get a sample when you come in. It's always kind of discouraging when I go to get a urine sample and the people go, oh yeah, he urinated outside your door right before I came in. Well, then the bladder is empty. So you either have to wait and come back some other day or put them in a cage and wait a few hours to collect a urine sample, because it's really need a urinalysis to begin the process when we're diagnosing urinary tract disease. Just a word on other things that can cause that, though, cause increased urination besides urinary tract problems. Dogs that are urinating larger amounts more often, may have diabetes, which is fairly common. They may have kidney disease, not kidney stones or bladder stones, but kidney disease. They may have a problem called Cushing's disease, which can cause that as well. So there are other potential causes than just a plain urinary tract infection or bladder stones for dogs that are having increased urination. But that's for your veterinarian to sort out. Just recognize if the urinary habits change, that can be a sign that there's something fairly serious going on, and it's the best idea to have your veterinarian examine your pet, at the least do your urinalysis, maybe do some blood work, x-rays or ultrasound of the bladder, and then get to the bottom of the problem, formulate an appropriate plan, and get your pet taken care of. I'm Dr. Allen at Jones Animal Hospital. Thanks for joining us today on Vet Visits.